Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-minute histories videos. And today we're going to talk about formstone. And for those of you who don't know, formstone is a sort of cementitious product that was applied to the outside of buildings, mostly houses, to try to keep them weatherproof and keep the maintenance down. Wildly popular here in Baltimore in the 1940s and 50s, and found throughout the city. In talking about formstone, there are two things to talk about: the easy things and the hard things. The easy things are who patented it and when, and the hard things are everything else. Is it ugly or is it beautiful? Does it work to keep the water out of your house, or is it terrible for your house? And maybe most of all, is it now historic and should it be preserved? But let's start with the easy things. The formula for formstone was patented here in Baltimore, in fact, just around the corner from where I am in West Baltimore on Franklintown Road, by a company called Lasting Products, which incidentally, what a great name for a company that's going to make cement that keeps your house standing forever, Lasting Products, and by a gentleman named Albert Knight. Knight had gone to MICA and also graduated from Hopkins, and he was fooling around with the company's formula. They produced paint and epoxies and roof coatings, and he was sort of playing around. I guess he had the artist side from MICA and the engineering side from Hopkins, and came up with the formula for formstone. And that's kind of where the controversy begins, because 8 years before, there was a company in Columbus, Ohio called Permastone that had trademarked the name Permastone and was going around putting up cementitious fronts to people's houses. And 3 years before, there was a company in Lafayette, Indiana, Rawstone, that was had a similar product, was even showcasing it at trade shows across the country. So whether Knight came up with the formula all by himself or kind of borrowed from folks in Columbus and Lafayette, we don't know. But formstone was patented here. Patent number, if you're curious, 2,095,641. And according to Knight's words, a process for making artificial stone wall facings. So in the 1940s and 50s, it really took off, and that made sense here in Baltimore. A number of neighborhoods, especially working class neighborhoods, their houses were turning 30, 40, and 50 years old and needed maintenance. Formstone promised to be a cheap way to do that for about $300, the cost of painting your front of your house 3 times. You could get formstone put on and never have to paint it again. And community after community, block after block, embraced this new idea. The way it works is a contractor from Formstone or one of the many other competitors. And let me actually read to you some of the competitors. And there were a lot just here in Baltimore. And Dixie Stone, Silverstone, True Stone, Bermuda Stone, Modern Stone, Roman Stone, Magnolia Stone, Fieldstone, and my favorite, Stone of Ages. All of those were different formulas that you could buy and get applied to the front of your house. So the idea was the contractor would nail in a wire mesh, a metal mesh, to the front of your house, and then apply layers of this stucco-like cement product on it. And as the final layer was drying, he would hand form individual stones, complete with faux mortar joints. So your otherwise Baltimore brick row house turned into a little stone castle. And that's a term that's been used a lot, stone castles. And who would not want this? To top it all off, while everything was drying, the contractor would throw in powdered mica to make it sparkle. And then for a couple dollars more, you could get him to add in pigments to the top coat so that your individual stones would have different colors. A really marvelous new spangled thing to do. All the cats meow for a while. So that gets us into the question of all these neighborhoods across Baltimore embracing it, which one has the most? And there's a debate there that will never end. Highlandtown in West Baltimore has a lot, but so does Pigtown. Highlandtown in East Baltimore, so does Pigtown in West Baltimore. Canton has a lot, but so does Shipley Hill, the neighborhood where I'm in right now, and the wonderful row behind me. So that will never end, but I think we can all agree that Baltimore is the formstone capital of the world. There are other cities that have formstone. Columbus and Lafayette, probably. Washington, D.C. has some Formstone. So does San Francisco. A few houses in San Francisco, they actually are kind of fancy, which you would never call Baltimore Formstone fancy. But we are certainly, with our thousands and thousands of houses, the Formstone capital. And that gets us to our last debate, and that is whether Formstone is now historic and should be preserved. And there's no middle ground here. You're either for it or you're against it. And probably of all the subjects we've talked about, I am sure we're going to get a lot of comments on this, so please do send them in. On the one camp are the practical side of things, that Formstone, although it's meant to protect your house, might do the exact opposite. Often when the mesh was nailed into the front, it was done indiscriminately, so not just into the mortar joints, but into the face of the brick, totally ruining the bricks. Also, the Formstone was good at keeping rainwater out, but it also trapped moisture in. Bricks and the mortar are made to be porous to allow vapor, water vapor, to escape from your house. So many people who had Formstone installed, they didn't have to pay painters on the outside, but they had to pay a lot of plasterers on the inside because that water vapor was being trapped and it was sparging the plaster in their living room walls. And then finally, the Formstone itself can pull away the brick, sort of like peeling off the front of your house, which is obviously no good. On the other side of the debate, though, are the folks who love it, including our own John Waters, who lovingly called Formstone the polyester of brick, and argued for its preservation as a postmodern, a genuinely postmodern art form. And then the other arguments are that it is really a type of artwork that is reflective of the working class neighborhoods in Baltimore in the 1940s and 50s. And then the fact that is indisputable is that it is quintessentially Baltimore. Just like the Baltimore Ravens and Mr. Natty Boh, Formstone just screams Baltimore. So that debate will never end, but it may become more academic as the number of contractors who are qualified to put new Formstone on is down to almost zero, and the number of masons who are qualified to repair it is dwindling quickly. I'm going to wrap up with a couple quotes from one mason, Bob Ibex, that shows both sort of their pride in their work and their own formulas, which were very much secret, but also maybe demonstrates why Formstone might not be around for the ages. Mr. Ibex said, and his product was Dixie Stone, he said, "I will never tell anyone anything about the stone formula, not even my own boys." So I think that formula is probably going to the grave. And then Mr. Ibex is quoted in The Sun a few years ago, I think 7 or 8 years ago, as saying, relating to the secrecy of the formula, "Did Tiffany tell anyone how to make stained glass? And that's why Tiffany's so expensive today. Did the Egyptians tell anyone how they put up the sphinxes?" And so I will leave you with that thought to ponder of whether, along with Tiffany glass and the Egyptian Sphinx, Baltimore's formula for Formstone is going to be one of the mysteries of the universe. All right, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.